Hello, everyone, and welcome to Saturday, which will be our F1 Summit Series. Delight to have um Ender or whatever you want to be called today. Hello there.
Hello? How are
Right,
you?
all right. I know. We are just getting ourselves ready, of course, for what is going to be. I think is it round two today? I think. Just have to think off the top of my head. You'll love this, guys. Literally just come back from a racetrack. So brain is just catching up, but we are going to be going in very, very shortly. Got a couple minutes. Going into the round, which will be at
Round number
Silverstone.
4.
Round number four, we have gone a bit further than before in the past. So, round number four, Silverstone. So, Silverstone, probably one of the most, how can I say, one of the most historic in terms of Formula One. And these cars this year are no different in F125. So, Oren, opinions on Silverstone for you?
I think in the game it's going to be a pretty good race. We got two big DRS zones, so we can expect quite a bit of overtaking, quite a bit of change. But at the front, it'll probably be a DRS train because they'll want to try and manage their tyres. Speaking to some of the drivers, they were looking at about 5% wear a lap. They will probably want to get that down to 4, so we expect the front guys to be holding back a little bit. But hopefully, in the final 5 laps, see them all fighting each other to try and get a bit higher than where they are in the DRS train.
Yeah, Silverstone is definitely one of those tracks, probably one of the worst in terms of degradation, especially on those rear tires. The rear left being definitely one that gets chewed a lot, and we've even seen the extremes of even tire failures in the past, whether it was back in the early 2010s or more recently in 2020. So only got a couple minutes away. I'd say really with these cars in F125, we are going to be definitely seeing some of the fastest times in comparison to what we've seen in previous years, and we've got definitely a very interesting fight at the top. With looking at the standings, and I'm just going to get it up on my side right now. So at the moment, Tom Roberts is leading the championship pretty marginally to Newtwich in second, 104 to 81. Ben Mills slightly behind, but we will be having some championship fighters back in the fray with Josh and I think Tom. No, Ben. No, Tom is back. So we'll be having Tom and Josh fighting against each other, which is fantastic compared to the last time I casted. Only Josh was about and there wasn't any competition, but he did kind of ruin his own race. So we'll see whether or not that happens this week as we've only got a couple minutes away. Silverstone is definitely one of those circuits that is challenging for the drivers in terms of a lot of high speed corners. You got very influentially with Cops as well as Stowe near the end of the lap. And we will be walking ourselves through that very, very shortly. So I think I think in terms of qualifying, because I think we're having a normal race weekend, so we're going to be having qualifying followed by a 50% race. We'll see how it goes. As just seeing a couple of people running up in the lobby. We'll be getting that momentarily. Right, Oren, you've had some experience back in the F1 game. How has it been for you around this track in terms of you know how it feels, how it getting around in the game, and especially as we've got F125, how that really affects going into this race in the summer season.
Yeah, last time we were at Silverstone, obviously, we went F1 23.
Mm.
Some major differences are on 23, you couldn't really take a lot of the curbs, but on 25 you can. So expect a lot of curb eating into Vale and maybe a bit around Brooklands. Another change on 25 is that the low speed feedback you get from your wheel is quite low. So there are going to be some difficulties turn 3, turn 4, and then obviously Vale and Club trying to get on power. But a lot of these drivers are quite experienced, so hopefully we won't see too many spins. But it's always a potential.
Yeah, and I mean, you just look at it back in the past. Vale, we're going to be mentioning this a lot. Vale and the last couple of corners going right onto the Hamilton Straight. It's going to be one of those places where traction is going to be very important. Your tires are going to be overheating near the end because you've got a very laterally demanding corner of Stowe, and you're going to be running that thermal right into Vale. where that real life is going to be giving up. It's not going to be wanting to keep itself going out those final couple of corners. And so that's going to be, if anything, that's going to be the main place where you're going to see spins. That and also the traction zone at Village into the loop. The loop is always a tricky one. It's personally one of the most difficult parts of the circuit for me personally when I do these sort of races. So it'll be very interesting to see going into qualifying whether or not drivers are going to make mistakes there, and whether or not our whatever our top people can really get the lap time with their setups, because they're going to be wanting to go as low downforce as possible, but try it. That is going to eat in their tires later down the line.
Yeah, Tom Roberts, our championship leader, doesn't have a good record for qualifying, which means he then has to work his way through the field. Sometimes picks up a few penalties, making his life a bit harder. But hopefully today he can just get a banker lap in. We know the sort of pace that he has. As long as he can just get one clean lap in, I'm sure he'll qualify at least top four.
Yeah, and now we're going to be going over to qualifying. So, single 18-minute qualifying. We're going to be seeing a couple drivers coming out here with their soft tires. Because it's a normal weekend, we're going to be seeing a lot more push laps than we saw in our sprint rounds. So, we're coming on Assassin in the lovely blue Atlantean Atlassian, something like that. Williams Racing, as we're going to be going over that the old pit straight there, National Straight, place that I've actually had to personally be on here all weekend, but it's going to be what goes into one of the fastest corners on the entire calendar at Cops Corner. Very, very difficult in real life to do because you have to be very precise. And I think this game tries its best to be precise, especially as a game that understeers a lot. You can be a bit more forgiving in terms of keeping yourself. And again, you'd be saying earlier, riding the curbs is going to be very useful, especially on that exit. 'Cause you're very unlikely to lose it, especially in F1 cars. Very unlikely, as we're going to be seeing Assassin lining up, getting his tires warm, and lining up for the first push lap of the race. So keeping it clean coming out of Vale over into the straight and Hamilton straight, and right, going into the first corner, keeping 7th gear, going into Abbey. Again, you want to keep it nice and tucked in. Keep on the outside, going into Village. Nice rotation there, swings out a tiny bit wide. And you can see there, oh, definitely very difficult to get around the loop there. And you saw there, we were talking about this earlier, the instability coming out of the loop is going to be one of the trickiest parts of the circuit. It's going to be the part of the circuit you're going to be at the slowest part. Going into Brooklands, breaking around the 100-meter mark. You want to be keeping it tucked nice and in. It's a bit of a late apex there. Going into Luffield, lots of different lines you can usually take. Keeping it tucked in is usually the way to go with these Formula cars because you have so much downforce. As we're going to be lining ourselves down the old National Straight into Cops, the fastest corner of the circuit. You want to keep it nice and precise in your movement. Very much keeps it clean there for Assassin into one of the best sections of corners. Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapel. Shifting down one each time to make sure that you can keep your apex speeds as fast as possible and lining yourself down to the hangar straight. Into Stowe, it's going to be very difficult as we're going to be seeing a spin out for Lizard there on a very different part of the circuit there, actually. That's going to be going into Village. Very unfortunate for you. But we are going to be seeing a first couple lines as a couple drivers have to obey some yellow flags across the line. Assassin will be setting a line of 127.0 for now, as we're going to see Newt also coming across the line, going to 26.7. So we're going to be seeing the times tumbling down, especially when we're going to be seeing our top class of our Drivers' Championship with Tom and Co. with Buckets also coming along, keeping that 4th position in the Alpine.
Yeah, I can only imagine Lizard into Village just touched the grass a little bit on the left, spun the car around. It was the start of the lap, so I reckon he'll be able to get around, recharge the battery, and go again with not too much wear on his soft tyres.
Yeah, we're seeing a couple of local yellows right now going into Brooklands. I don't know what happens with the driver. We're going to have, of course, SK having with an invalid lap, and actually invalid lap coming across. He's going to have to go again. Hope he has enough fuel in the tank to do so. AL coming across the line, going 2nd place as Ben Mills has put a 26.0 on the mark. So we're going to have a benchmark to fight against to get the pole position for the race as Tom Roberts lining up to go on to their flying lap. And it looks like there's going to be a local yellow there. Again, these local yellows are getting thrown out as I think it's someone like SK that is not doing so well. Actually seeing an overtake on the hangar straight there for probably be Newt.
Yeah, I think most of these yellows are just this drivers on their in lap or out lap just trying to get out of the way. It's going a bit slowly. That's what's throwing a yellow.
Yeah, and actually, you're seeing a couple drivers going back into the pits as Tom Roberts is saying a purple in first sector. So keep an eye on those timings as going into cops, committed as anything as you have to be, as we are still having a local yellow in Sector 3, but going Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapel, keeping the car relatively controlled as it rolls itself through onto the hangar straight. And that section of corners is definitely one of the best that
Oh,
you
he's
can see on the
invalidated.
calendar.
He's took too much corner on the exit of Chapel. He's invalidated as
Yeah,
well.
and
That's
that's
going
a
to be a
really
massive shame for
unfortunate
him.
thing. Yeah, and that's a really unfortunate thing of the hangar straight. You want to keep as much speed as possible because any mistake that you make out of those corners is going to carry itself all the way down that straight. And it looks like Tom Roberts tried to do his best to keep as much speed, but unsuccessful in doing so.
Yeah, they'll have 3 sets of soft tyres because I can't imagine anyone's going to want to run the soft in the race. They'll have another 2 sets of fresh tyres to go at it. Hopefully, you can get it right next time.
Yeah, now we're going to be having a look at Geek. Geek's had a up and down season, as it always feels like in the F1 series. Like I said, my memory goes back to Jeddah having some incidents which caused a number of problems for their race results. But looking here to try and get himself keeping clean out of cops. It's very easy to run out wide at cops, and going into this section is always tricky. And you can see the car actually having a bit of difficulty, a bit of understeer actually. You can see mid corner, so probably trying to throw the car in a little bit more. But this game does like to understeer a lot. The rear is definitely planted a bit too much in some cases, but looks like Geek is traversing with those problems, not too badly. Going into the final section corner here, Vale. Got to keep it nice and keep that wheel spin from doing any sorts of problems kicking the rear out, but looks like to be clean there for now, setting a bench line for himself into sixth position, taking the end of that third row on the grid. And currently we're seeing a couple of drivers, and you can actually see there is Ale was actually had the problem that we're just talking about. The rear does like to dance a little bit because that's all about traction there. And again, because you've got that thermal problem that is built up off of stow going into that set of corners, it is much easier to light up, get that rear end to kick out a little bit. And you saw there of AL getting that third position for now, just under 6 tenths from the leader, as right now we have a fight for the lead between Ben Mills and Josh, or Woolly Blobs in this case. 3 tenths of a second right now, but they are on their outlap, so they will be lining up another set of ways to see who will get the top position, pole position for the grid.
Tom Roberts taking a lot of curb there through Brooklands. Clearly not stepping back a little bit, trying to set a clean lap, still giving it 110% on this lap. Heading
Yeah,
into Magus and Beckett again. This time, hopefully he doesn't run wide on the exit of Chapel. Keeps it clean.
Yeah, Tom Roberts does want to demonstrate. The guy has pace, but he needs to be able to keep it on the track to actually demonstrate whether or not he can do so. And looks like he has learned from the previous.
No, he's done it again.
Oh no, not again!
And he's going to be
Oh
burning through his
dear.
soft tyres as well. So he's only going to have, I can only imagine he pit in for a fresh set. So that's going to leave him with 1 set of soft tyres now to do his final runner.
Well, Tom, you may be fast enough to be higher up in the grid, but you got to actually set a lap to do so. And right now has no laps, currently last on the grid, and not looking best with 2 sets of used tires.
No, but I think he has got the pace at least. And he will have that 3rd set of tyres. So I think he just needs to set a lap. Because he'll at least go top 5. And it's just going to make his race so much more difficult, him starting P13. You get a few of the slower drivers, you have to work his way through in the race. And that risks, a bit of damage, maybe a spin, using your tyre a bit more than you'd want to try and make the one-stop work.
Yeah, and actually, we're currently seeing at the moment a couple of outlaps for a number of people. It looks like an actual a grid penalty for a collision with Tom Huggs. Very unusual to see some contact in a qualifying. You see there the driver inventing a new line around Brooklands, but I don't think that's the fastest way around, as Liz has actually been DNF on the session. So probably a consequence of the that 5 second, sorry, that 5 place grid penalty, which is not going to be very helpful for the race because this means they're going to have to fight through more things, more people in this case. And we are actually seeing some yellows around. It looks like one of the drivers have had a little bit of a spin out at Luffield. Let's keep an eye on buckets right now. Currently 5.5 seconds. He gets a little bit spooked by a
Ooh,
car coming from behind. And I don't know what car that would have been. It looks oddly suspicious as I'm trying to look. So,
Ben Mills as Williams are trying to set
so
another faster lap.
yeah,
Although,
it looks like
uh,
Ben is
I know it's an
intimidating
outlap
the
act,
drivers.
in
No,
lap
not at
actually.
all. Okay. Apparently, Liz is actually DNF'd in the pit lane, so not a consequence of those of that penalty that we saw earlier on the screen. But for now, going to be seeing Josh coming across to try and set a better time, keeping it nice and clean out of his last couple of corners. You want to be drifting out his way, and it looks like Josh will be taking the lead, tenth and a half from Ben Mills with first time being set within the 125s.
Aston Newt there finishing his lap to do a 1:26.2. Very good lap from him.
Yeah,
Puts both McLarens on the second row.
yeah. I mean, Newt's looking to be the dominant McLaren in this case, and looks like we demonstrate to do so, having a marginal gap from AL of just under 4 tenths of a second, as we're going to see a number of drivers coming back into the pit lane, putting on a fresh set of tires for the last couple minutes of the session. As you're right, they've had 2 attempts with new tires. This is going to be the third one, and so this is going to be the final shootout
We
for the
cut away
last
from Tom
three
Roberts a
positions.
few minutes ago, and he went right wide through Copse. I really hope that was his outlap because if he's ruined a third lap, that's gonna not help him very much.
I think, it's going to be one of two ways. Either Tom's having a problem out of exit of Chapel, which can be a little bit tricky, because again, you want to maximize the amount of speed that you're going to be going onto that straight. It's the longest straight on the circuit. But it could also be that, person's just trying his best to keep it, it could be all manners of things. We haven't seen the onboard of the of Tom whatsoever, but right now, currently in 13th, needs to set a lap time. There is no sprint race to kind of help yourself in this case. So, and you can see the car there just going absolutely sideways. Geeks is really trying to rag the car around, going out of the loop onto the Wellington straight. Definitely showing that while this game does have a lot more stability on the rear, you still can kick out the car, and mistakes can be made. As seeing more of a central line there, trying to keep the minimum high speed as much as possible.
Yeah,
Going
you got
down
two.
into cops. Sorry about that. Keeping it nice and clean.
Yeah, you got two lines you can take through Luffield. You can either take it as a double apex help you get on the exit, but then obviously you're going a bit slower, so the rear end might kick out. Or you use the downforce of the car, take a nice round line, and just carry the speed through.
Yeah, and actually we can see there a purple sector for Geek, so looking like a good overall lap. Let's keep an eye as we've got the last couple of corners here. Stowe being very important. Actually seeing the car harvesting slightly. You can see a little bit of derating coming out of the car. We'll see that little flashing light on the back of the car telling you there's not much energy left in the tank. Last couple of corners not too bad, and looks like we'll be jumping to third position, knocking Newt down. Uh, Down to the second part of the second row, and Geek is looking relatively fast.
And here goes Tom Roberts for attempt number 3. Hopefully it is third time lucky for him. Now head
Has to
through
be third
Luffield.
time lobby.
All seem to be keeping it nice and clean now. Staying away from the white line. And now head towards Cops. This is easily flat, so I can't imagine running wide here. Maggots and
Yeah.
Beckett's once again easily flat, but now be heading to his bogey corner of Chapel. Hopefully he doesn't run wide. We'll watch here. There we go, keeping it nice in track limits. Carried a lot of speed down the hanger straight now up towards Stowe.
Keeps it very conservative out of Chapel, so definitely taking some precautions this time as like I said, had two mistakes both at the same corner, so took some precautions. Might have cost a little bit of time, but it's going to be worth much more in the positions gained. As it goes a little bit, no, it goes a bit wide, but keeps it valid for now. And actually, no, does not set a time.
He doesn't seem very happy with himself.
And you
As
can see
Ben
Ben
Mills goes
Mills.
to the top.
Yeah, no, Ben Mills
Less
goes
than
to
a
the
tenth of
top,
a second
kick.
there.
Yeah, just under a tenth for a second. So Ben Mills showing he wants to be in the fight here with a couple corners to go from AL looking in fifth position and won't be improving there whatsoever. Actually, no, that was onto a main lap as we're seeing a random Mercedes backwards.
Tom Roberts seems to be having a little bit of fun here down at the final corner.
Is he trying to spin it?
Is he disqualifying himself? Oh, there it is. Oh dear.
Oh dear.
Not a great qualifying session from our championship leader. Music to the ears though of Last Gen Newton Ben Mills.
Yeah, that's definitely something I've not seen in sim racing for a very long time. As we're seeing someone actively disqualifying themselves is very impressive. Not probably what they wanted, but I think they are still racing later on. So there is positions to be gained. It is a 50% race, so there's all manners of ways of getting back up. But will definitely be helpful to to some of the championship rivals, whether it's Ben or Josh. Um, and we are seeing a number of yellow flags coming out. So drivers really trying to be pushing on the edge as they're using their final set of soft tires with only a couple minutes left of the session remaining. Newt coming across the line does not improve on that whatsoever. We have 1 minute left of the session. Drivers are going to be trying their best to get any improvement. It looks like Geek has retired from the session, so probably, I don't know if it's a mistake or whether or not there's anything going on as Ben's actually retired from the session also.
I think these guys are retiring because it's the end of the session and they just want to watch the onboard. Last Gen New on his final run. Got Assassin winding up to start his final lap. So I'm going to
Top
be riding on board with Assassin for his final lap qualifying. Very important corner. Vale, you want to get it right because it opens up your lap. Down the Hamilton straight. Now going to be heading in towards Abbey and Farm. You want to take the line of least resistance. Don't want to scrub off too much speed. Bring the car over to the left for Village. Take a little bit less speed because you want to bring the car over to the right for the loop. One of the key traction zones here, you want to get the power down as early as possible so you carry as much speed you can through Atri and now onto the Wellington straight. DRS open, you'll be using the overtake to max out your top speed. Into Brooklands, chuck the car in, down the gears, into Luffield. Once again, want to carry as much speed as possible. Very crucial here to get on the power because you'll be heading onto another flat out section through Woodcut onto the National Straight down towards Cops. Cops corner is flat, but you will want to drop the car into 7th to help with the acceleration out. Into Maggots and Beckett. Maggots easily flat, both corners. First corner of Beckett's, drop it into 7th. Chapel, drop it into 6th. Plant the power. Be careful with the track limits, as we've seen Tom Roberts get caught out by. So then you maximize your speed on the hanger straight down towards Stowe. Stowe, very fast corner. Dab of the brakes, flick the steering wheel in. Another track limits you have to be careful for on the exit. Down towards Vale, the tyres are going to be screaming out at the end of the lap. Hit the first curb, slightly avoid the second curb so that the car stays stable so you can plant the power. And to the line, it's going to be 5th fastest for Assassin, goes ahead of Ali and Tom Hug. As we see now, GMT coming to the line to finish his lap. Hopefully, he can improve to go higher than P9. So, what's it going to be for him? We're never going to know. It was P8. He did improve by over a tenth to go ahead. And that is the end of qualifying. We've got Ben Mills on pole. Alongside him is Josh Woolley, just losing out by less than a tenth. Last Gen Newt P3, Geek P4, Assassin P5, and Ali in P6. There are some grid penalties though for Tom, Hug, and SK, which might have been from either collision or potentially impeding somebody on their lap.
just realized I'm muted. Lovely times. So overall, Ben Mills taking the advantage there over Josh with just under a tenth of a second in that racing bull there. I think it's going to be the big thing from there was Tom Roberts could not get himself a valid lap.
Yeah, I think that's really going to hurt him for the race because you opt to start on the hard tire because when you box onto the hards, if you start on mediums and you box onto the hards, you don't get the tire warm up, so you lose time on that first and second lap trying to warm the tires up. But because Tom's starting last, I think he will opt for the mediums because he wants a bit more grip to help get through the drivers. Then obviously that's going to hurt him later in the race and might hurt his chances of maybe finishing on the podium.
Right. And in the meantime, we do have a sponsor video in the meantime. So let's go over to that. Awesome, and thank you, other people at Grid Finders for helping us organize and do our parts. If you are interested in sim racing whatsoever and looking for your own series to join and do so, go on to Grid Finder, and there is support for various games, not just F125, but various things for all your likings. So, right, going into the race itself. So again, it's going to be the story of how far Tom Roberts can recover any positions he can do in the race. I do expect to do so, but I think the big one is going to be, of course, that tire wear expected. Is if it's going to be a 5% on this track. It's notorious for running mediums and hard tires because the carcass of those tires get absolutely obliterated. So hopefully, we'll see how that's going to be played. I wonder how much do you think tire wear is going to be playing on the strategy?
I think it's going to be a massive effect on the strategy. Speaking to the driver for the race, it did seem quite touch and go towards the end of stints, hitting between 60, 70%, which, if you don't know, 70% is the start of the puncture region. So it will be a bit risky.
Yeah, and again, we said earlier, punctures are notorious at Silverstone. We've seen that both in real life and, of course, in the F1 game. And I also think as well, it's going to be interesting to see how some of our more the midfield. I think Geek's a good example. Had you know middling results, had incidents, of course, this season that has curtailed their points gathering capability. I'm going to be interested to see how they are on the fourth place of grid. There's 5 red lights. It's going to be pulled out as we're going to be starting our race at Silverstone. So, going to be seeing a slow start out, a couple cars at the side. We're seeing damage already plucked off by one of the cars already as Ben Moore has kept the pole position for now, but we'll have Josh chasing up and behind, and Lizard's actually been jumping down to second to last position. It's going to see a side by side there from Geek, probably wanting to defend the positions that he has, and actually has made the position gain coming out of the loop. And of course, there is not going to be any DRS for the first lap of this race, but will be coming in the next as Geek has made that positional gain. As cars are going one by one into Brooklands, keeping it relatively clean and clear as we're going to see a car in the background of Ale trying to get close on the back of Assassin and will be slipstreaming down onto the fastest part of the circuit. It's going to be Cop's Corner as we're going in. No side-by-side actions, thinking better of it as looks like AO will be running wide, same as GM Tough. It's actually Tom has already got up into 10th position already and will be one to making a position. And actually contact there coming out from Tom Roberts. That is not what you're going to be wanting coming into this series, especially there might be penalties on the way as Tom has dropped all the way down, carrying damage and also going to be dropping down those positions.
It was a pretty decent start from Tom as well. He made up 3 positions, and it was his own teammate who hit him there on the entry into Beckett. And as I said, he is starting on the medium tyre, as I suspected. Oh, and there's Assassin making a move there on Last Gen Newt. Was it Last Gen Newt who got a bit of damage? He's now losing a position again to his teammate. All falling apart here for Last Gen Newt.
Yeah, we're going to have to keep an eye on the damage accumulation, especially if it's going to be between teammates. There's only one driver can go into the pit box at a time, slowing the other driver. So we will be seeing those positional gains. And Tom in the Aston Martin currently in 8th position, up the most into 8th. And right now we're going to be seeing our first use of DRS on the circuit going down the Wellington Straight. It looks like everyone is going to be using that DRS because they're all back to front in that DRS train as we're seeing the possible strategies between the 2 and 3 stop. 3 stop more relevant if a safety car is called. It looks like one of the Alpine drivers going a bit wide and actually a bit of contact. They're coming out from Lizard. Not going to be wanting on your front wing as you're going to be needing it going through some of these high-speed corners as understeer can not be helpful in terms of getting track limits, especially how strict this game is in. Yeah, we are going to be seeing the possible race strategies coming up again. But relatively, keep an eye out for Geek as he is on those medium tires, wanting to make those positional gains, but currently outside of that DRS.
Tom Roberts crucially has made the 3 overtakes he did again, so clearly that damage not affecting him. But now he's in clear air. Let's see how quickly he can close up to the back of his teammate. Looking towards the front, we've seemed to have 2 DRS trains formed, one with the podium positions and one from 4th all the way down to 9th.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing a fastest lap coming out from Josh using that DRS and keeping his nose on the gearbox of the previous drivers. We're always seeing, of course, fastest lap coming in there. There are points on the line for fast lap. We have kept that for this series, so will be important in terms for the championship. And keeping in that DRS is going to be very, very important compared to how long these straights are and the speed that he needs to keep on them. Actually, Brooklyn's there been demonstrating how much of a late apex you need to get through that corner. Looks like that inside is going to be the best way of taking that corner, but Geek has actually made some time with those medium tires and now gone back into the DRS range of Josh.
Yeah, I think we've reached that stage of the race now where they might go into tyre preservation mode. I mentioned at the start how bad the tyre is, so I don't think a lot of the drivers are going to be wanting to be fighting a lot at this stage. Yes, I can just imagine Josh Woolley and Geek are just going to sit behind Tom Roberts happily, try to manage their tyres.
I think Geek has to try and do something. Going on with the medium tire is going to be that increased degradation. You know, the medium tire is definitely a grippier tire, but it will wear more so throughout the race. And as the more this goes on, the more difficult it will become. I actually want to keep an eye on Tom Roberts as well, currently in 10th position. Of course, as you saw earlier, did drop all the way down to the last part of the grid, now currently in 10th position. Potentially carrying some damage from the contacts that we saw earlier. So we will keep an eye on that throughout the race, as it is very much a championship determining thing. As actually we're seeing a car going wide there, Assassin having a little bit of problems going into the village part of the circuit and coming out of the loop. Definitely not important because you're going to be backing those cars behind are going to be getting DRS on you. So you don't want to be getting anywhere near if you want to keep that position. As it looks like the 2 McLarens are hunting down Assassin in the meantime.
Yeah, Assassin is more than a second behind Geek, so he's not going to get the benefit of the DRS, so he's going to be dropping time down the straights. So hopefully, both McLarens are going to be wanting to manage their tyres, so they're not going to want to fight and move out through a lot of the high-speed corners. That's definitely going to put a lot of strain to those tyres. So hopefully they'll just be looking to keep close through Maggotts and Beckett and then make the move down the hanger straight. As we can see now, Ali is within half a second, so hopefully he might be looking to dump his battery and make the move well before Stowe.
Yeah, and actually Wooly dumping a little bit of battery going out of that hangar straight in there. I mean, both these drivers are going to be quite difficult. You can actually see the cars harvesting a little bit there. You can see those lights on the back of the F1 car. That's telling you that the battery is low, and so won't be able to deploy as much throughout the laps. You actually AL having a little bit of traction issues coming out of the final corner there. In the
Yeah,
meantime, sorry, go ahead.
no, that's fine. I was going to talk about the ERS management. Uh, Mainly, you want to be running none through all the corners, just so you get maximum harvest, and it also helps to manage the tires because we're having less power go through. I might want to cut off a bit though because Ali just took a lot of curves. The last gen used to be all over the back of his teammate, but Ali seems to have dumped a bit of battery to stay ahead. So yeah, in the corners they'll be running none just to harvest as much as possible and manage the tires. But then down the straights they'll be dumping all that access that they have.
Okay, and I think right now we're seeing again that right now these DRS trains are playing out Again, a lot of these drivers are on that hard tire, wanting to go as long as possible. And I think as well, I think Ben Mills has done relatively well to keep Josh at bay, still within the DRS, but has not moved ever so much in terms of track position. So I think it is very much it's still very much in the bag. I think an interesting one to think about is where Geek is at right now because he's on the alternative strategy on those medium tires. There is there is only 5 laps in this race, and it's 26 laps.
Yeah, we look back at Tom Roberts, another man who's been trying to make his way through the field. 2 laps ago, that gap was 4.9, so he's about a second a lap faster. So in 3 laps, he'll be on the back of his teammate, and another two, he'll be on the back of Tom Hug. But then that'll be 8 laps in. So does he have enough time to make his way towards the front? Because the front guys is going to keep pulling away. Looking at the front, Geek has actually dropped out of the DRS of Ben and Josh. Maybe that's a bit of tyre overheating, or maybe he's decided to back off to try and manage the tyres a bit more. Obviously, he's on the mediums, so they're gonna wear at a faster rate. So we'll see what his strategy is.
Yeah, and actually, we're seeing a positional gain for Tom. Again, one of those cars finish a little bit down at the margin of the in terms of starting position, but making their way up and just made an overtake going to seventh. If we had our first track penalty, well, penalty for track limits, as be probably the first of many knowing the BUSR. In the
Yeah,
meantime, we're keeping an eye on this fight for Assassin, keeping off these McLarens at bay. As more like the McLarens are going to be fighting each other at this rate, both within about just over half a second.
yeah. Josh Woolley now dropped out of the DRS. This might be Ben just trying to stretch his legs a little bit, so he doesn't have to feel the pressure of Josh behind him.
And of course, in the right now, again, we are at that point as we're seeing a little bit of difficulties coming out that last corner as these tires are going to be start getting chunked a bit, and we are going to see more instability out of those corners, whether it's the loop or Vale. So in the meantime, we are going to go back on this fight for fourth position. So AL's actually made up a couple of attempts as having a little bit of instability problems. So the dirty air that is generated from the car in front punching a hole through the air, but that air itself being very turbulent, it means that it can be a little bit difficult to control the car, especially these very, very high downforces. Tom Roberts has gone down a couple of positions, now currently 12th position and 13th.
He's
Actually, no, gone in the pits.
Yeah, maybe he is opting for that two-stop, or maybe he thought the damage was too much and just had to come in. But he is out on the hard tyre, so he won't be able to get to the end on that tyre. So I can only imagine that he's going to pit the mediums towards the end and then try and fire his way back.
Guess it's expecting to be that two-stop strategy that we saw on the possible strategies available. So let's keep an eye on it. And of course, it looks like AL has dropped himself back down a little bit as DRS is helping pulling him along as we are looking into a positional overtake, but thinks better of it going into Stowe as both those McLarens don't have a lot of energy in the tank.
Yeah, Ali's not going to be hating this because he's not going to want to make a move because it's going to wear his tyres a bit more, but then he doesn't want to be sat behind Assassin losing time when he could potentially be getting down the road and trying to attack Geek. So I think he's going to have to try and make a move sooner rather than later.
It's one of those sort of calculations. Do I want to make an overtake? And can I do it? Because if I can't do it, I might get attacked from the car behind. And so this is going to be a thing as we're seeing actually AL taking it a little bit wide. Let's see if there's anything that can be done for the car behind. As looks like Edie has made the positional gain into 7th place. But let's keep an eye on this second McLaren trying to fight for 5th position. It looks like probably a bit of ERS being used by AL to fend off Newt for now, but that juice that you use early in the tank, you have to build it up, and it gives an opportunity for the car behind to potentially, with ERS, make that overtake. And so right now, this DRS chain is playing out at the moment. We will keep an eye, though, on where these fights are going to be coming, whether or not it's for the 8th or for 4th.
Yeah, just having a look at the telemetry there between 4th, 5th, and 6th. They all seem to be using their battery in the same way. So the only benefit that AL is going to get on Assassin is going to be with the DRS. So maybe it might be worth for a lap just saving the battery so he has a little bit more to dump down the straight, or maybe use it in an area of the track he's not expecting, like potentially down into Village or maybe into Copse Corner on the exit of Luffield.
Yeah, and it's going to be one of those to watch in the meantime. And you're wondering why we are kind of in this sort of propensity state of waiting and seeing what is going on. The, I find F1 especially. I don't know how it is with this game. Has really turned into the DRS is not. I would say it's not as strong as I've seen in previous F1 games. You might have a bit more knowledge than I do about this, but it does look like this game has a state of more likely to be a DRS train than just constant overtaking.
Well, here goes Ali then for the move down the inside into Brooklyn. It's going to be the outside for Luffield. Oh, and there's been contact between Assassin and Ali. Ali into the barrier. Fortunately, it hasn't taken the front wheel off, so he still is in the race, but I can imagine that's taken a lot of his front wing off. Yeah, as we can see, a lot of damage to the right side of his car. Going to force him in for an early stop. Unfortunately, he has died on the hard, so he has been forced onto the two-stop now because I don't think the medium tyre is going to make it. As you can just see there, the lack of downforce running wide is going to really hurt him now because Magnussen Beckett's high-speed corner, you really want a front wing.
Yeah, and you see a couple of parts there going to be helpful for the fans behind as they will be getting a little bit of souvenirs as that car is missing a couple of parts itself, but now we'll be looking to get that pitted. But that contact there, seeing that there, looks like there was just a bit of instability from, I think it was Assassin, wasn't it? That it just had a little bit of a kick, pushed the car out, and luckily the car is, in a still in a running position, but really unfortunate for AL. I wonder if there's any damage on Assassin's car.
And what that has done it is opened up the door for last gen Newt, who's going to be all over the back of Assassin now, and hopefully he can now get past and then start making some gains on Geek for the podium.
Yeah, and we'll be seeing whether or not Assassin can fend off Newt, because again, we don't know entirely the condition of that Williams car, as we are going to be seeing, of course, the AL going into the pits and getting that wing repaired for a new one and a new set of tires, as well as Lizard actually Lizard getting a positional gain for no.
Yeah, so AL's now been put on the same strategy as Tom Roberts. It'll be interesting to monitor those two. Obviously, Tom Roberts is now on the hards, AL on the mediums, but they'll both be boxing for mediums at a similar time. So it'll be interesting to watch those two try and make their way through the field. As here goes Tom Roberts, making his first overtake after his pit stop on SK quite easily there before Brooklands.
Yeah, I think SK realizing that Tom is definitely one of our fastest drivers on the rosters of drivers. And I think he thinks better of it. So not much competition there for now, but I think Tom Roberts is running a bit of a different race right now. Same with SK. As right now we are going to be going back on top with Newt. So apparently Newt is actually running a bit more downforce than Assassin. So it's going to be a bit more difficult in race trim because, in the end, you need to make the overtake. You need to have that overspeed to try and get you in front or don't make as much mistakes. It's the one benefit of having more downforce is you can carry a bit more speed going through corners, but it will be bleeded off on the straight. So we'll see whether or not that's going to help, especially in the lower tire wear. Where again, high downforce helps a ton, as we're seeing a little bit of DRS and DRS being used, but not much coming out of it. And unfortunately, this is playing out similar to how it was playing out earlier with AL earlier, but AL did try to make the overtake, so it is potentially possible if Assassin does make a mistake, as we are seeing AL go into the pit to get a new wing change. I wonder if this is another change. I thought they went into the previous lap.
Maybe he forgot to change his front wing setting. Because on this game, when you go into the pit lane, you can choose between your front wing to be automatically changed, or you can manually set it to be yes or no. But the game can be a bit funny with that. So if you have it on automatic, it sometimes doesn't change it. So maybe he forgot to put it on yes, came to the pit lane, it was just a tire change. Which if it was, that's gonna be really unfortunate because now had to make a second pit stop. So now gonna be a pit stop behind last.
But that was definitely not what the McLaren driver would be wanting. Running a relatively high position in fourth place, dropping all the way down 21 seconds from anyone else on the grid will not be helpful, and probably waiting for a potential safety car to help them in their efforts of trying to get some points in this race. Anyhow, well, more points in this case. Let's keep an eye for this battle. For we have been keeping our eyes glued on this for a number of laps as drivers have tipped and toed, and one driver has unfortunately nearly, well, did meet the wall in this case. But Newt keeping himself relatively in that 3 to 4 tenths of a second behind, not quite able to make the overtake, as the lower downforce setting of Assassin really helping with those straights where the DRS is being enabled by the car from behind. And
Yeah,
I
the
think
front guys
overall, no, go ahead.
Oh, no, it's fine. The front guys probably do opt to run a bit more downforce because it helps to protect the tires, and especially here where the one stop is a bit difficult to pull off, the higher downforce will just help you to keep your tires in check. Newt's probably going to be hurting his tires a lot more now running behind Assassin because through all the corners he's going to be scrubbing. So he's probably just going to try and look to sit in that 5 tenth, 6 tenth gap and just hope that there's a mistake in front that he can just capitalize on and then make the move.
I'm wondering because I've seen a lot of lights coming off the back of these cars, whether or not the ERS is very difficult to generate on the circuit. I haven't thought about it, but I wonder how difficult it actually is to generate on the circuit.
Well, it's a bit difficult because if you look at the circuit layout, there's only 4, maybe 5 major braking zones, so you're not generating that much. So you're going to be generating your ERSF. Then you also have so many long, flat-out sections where you're not going to be getting the battery back. So that's why you'll see them flashing, running no ERS to generate as much as they can through the corners.
That's it. So keeping that in mind, it means that these drivers are not going to have too many tools in the cockpit to really make those overtakes possible. If things are going to be quite difficult to manage in terms of ERS, let alone um, DRS and the tires degrading on top. And we are still, again, keeping an eye on this. It looks like SK has made that positional gain for now, as probably, well, going up and down. I don't know what's going on there too much, but we'll keep an eye in the meantime. Okay, there's actually some drivers going into the pit lane, as I do suspect we're getting halfway through this race. It is going to be really important um, to change those tires to something a little bit more useful. And so keep an eye on the drivers, as we are going to be seeing a number of pit stops coming out.
Yeah, we've just seen the medium runners come in now, so I think we'll see the hard runners come in for a pit stop. Last Gen U is in. He's going to be trying the undercut on us, or unless Assassins come in as well. But I cannot tell. No, Assassin stayed out, so Last Gen U's going to be on the undercut. He's going to want to throw on those fresh tyres and absolutely send it. And hopefully he will come out ahead of Assassin and then head up towards the podium.
And that's going to be really important because the undercut is actually quite strong on this game. We'll keep an eye. I think the big one's going to be the leaders here. Both drivers are still opting to stay out for now. I was actually seeing a bit of a mistake coming out from Ben. Let's see if Josh can capitalize in any way. There isn't a DRS here, so it won't be really helpful. Again, there's not too much DRS, and you know the fact that these drivers are just, you know, they are on the limit. Still not much can be done in terms of overtaking. So it might be that this race is going to be made in the overtaking the pit lane and the strategy that these drivers call upon. So let's see what happens. Who is going to blink? Who's going to undercut?
Yeah, I think that overstay from Ben might have swayed his opinion there to come in off those tyres. But we'll see what he does. He's opting to come in. I assume Josh will follow him in as well, as he does. Yeah, Josh would have lost too much time if he tried to stay out. So yeah, and they'll also be thinking about the fact that Geek came in last lap, so they'll want to be covering that undercut. As we now look at the current one, Assassin is in, and Last Gen U absolutely sending it now through Magus and Beckett's heading towards Stowe. Tom Hug has opted to stay out. Maybe he's trying to wait for a safety car. We see Geek there weaving. The hard tire is really hard to warm up, so he's just trying to put a little bit of extra energy through them to try and set as good of outlap as he can.
So it's going to be all down to whether or not Geek's undercut scenario has helped in any way. Currently sick at the moment, as again, this timing screen will flick about a little bit as we're seeing drivers going into the pits and making their changes onto their new set of tires. And actually, Tom currently inheriting the lead for now, but has not pitted. So do be aware of that, as it looks like Ben has actually kept relatively good distance, if not improved, out the pits.
Yeah, you can look at that from last year. He was what within less than half a second of Assassin, and now he's 4 seconds ahead. So the undercut working brilliantly for him. And now he's gaining on Geek, who is on the hard tires. He's gonna have the tire advantage on him. So hopefully he can make a swift move on Geek and then make his way towards Woolly Bobs and potentially fight for the win.
And I always think, because I come from very much endurance background, and seeing that how much advantage that tire warmers can do to tires in a race car like this. It really shows that if you have warm tires coming out the pits, really can help in lap time.
Yeah, it's why a lot of these drivers opt to start on the hards, so you don't have to go through the painful tire warm up that Geeks had to do here, which is probably why he's lost just a little bit of time to the front guys. Although he was on fresher hard tires, they were cold, so it balances out between temperature and wear.
Yeah, it looks like for Tom Hug has finally got into the pits, um, giving Ben back the lead of this race. As unfortunately, this race has cooled down a bit with the those new tires being placed on, and the gaps really demonstrating why new tires and undercuts are really strong in this game.
Yeah, looking at the ERS, both Josh and Ben have used quite a lot of theirs. So I think they're just trying to. Ben's trying to use his battery to keep Josh behind, and Josh trying to use his battery to try and get a bit closer. Last Gen Ute's battery is quite low, but that's obviously because he's just made the move on Geek.
Yeah, and actually, going into that third position, Geek has been uh, on top in third position for most of this race, but it looks like Newt has used those new tires well. For now, let's see if Geek can keep a close eye. We've got two or three battles coming on here between third, fifth, and eighth, and we are going to be seeing this is a DRS straight for Geek, as Geek will be getting that flap open and getting that extra 50 horsepower equivalent going down that straight. It looks like Lizard has picked up a time penalty for track cuts, as this game is notorious for doing so. And it looks like Ben Mill has put on those new medium tyres and set the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, Josh is going to be happy seeing that. He's going to be wanting to try and put his own fastest lap, not only to take the points away, but to also gain on Ben to try and take away a victory, which he needs if he wants to jump up the championship standings.
And also as well, these two drivers have really pushed each other along. Gap between first and second, between second and third, 7.5 seconds. So really showing that the top end of this grid is definitely the pacey ones, as it looks like Assassin's kept Tom Roberts following close. Again, Tom Roberts being the leader of this championship, has the pace, but is getting fended off by this Williams car of Assassin, keeping it close, but not enough to make the overtake. But very, very impressive to see how well this driver is sticking on with the lead of the championship.
Yeah, we saw Tom Roberts come in on lap 7 for those hard tyres, so they're going to be absolutely screaming out. Assassin, by comparison, is on brand new mediums, so he's going to be having all the grip now through all the high speed corners. So I don't think Tom Roberts is going to be able to hold him off much longer.
Yeah, and really showing that tire advantage is king in this scenario, and Silverstone being a track with a lot of punishment in terms for those tires. We're seeing the DRS being open there, giving that increased top speed. Looks like actually probably Tom Roberts using a bit of ERS just to try and fend off, as we're actually seeing another track penalty accumulation for GM in that Mercedes, in the other Mercedes actually. But keeping an eye right now, we're seeing that grip is going to be really helpful on those traction zones in particular. But it looks like Tom Roberts is not so struggling for now. But this is only a moment of time, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, the hard tyres won't be able to go much longer, so he's boxed and he's going to just try and stick out on track. This is his way of trying to make up positions. Rather than doing it on track, just pit early and then just hang it out and see what you can do. But I can imagine those tyres are going to be getting into the puncture range in the next 4 or 5 laps. So he's going to have to drive really slowly, but then he's also got a lot of faster guys behind him trying to catch up. So we'll see what he's gonna be able to do with the tires he's currently got on.
Yeah, and actually a little bit of spin out there from AL on the final corner. So traction being a little bit of a problem, seeing a bit of traction still being an issue for that car, as that car did actually accumulate some damage earlier in the race, but it looks did get some of it fixed. Probably just a spin, a little bit of wear on the tire that the driver's not going to be wanting anyway. And I actually think I think to kind of think about right now is so outside of this fight that we're seeing for Tom Roberts in fifth position, I think we got to fight both for third and fifth place. As we're actually seeing, is this a lapped car?
It is the lap car of Buckets Gaming in the Alpine. He would have given Tom Roberts a bit of a slipstream there down towards Stowe, so saving him for another lap from Assassin. But the question is, how much longer can he keep this going before eventually Assassin makes his way through?
I wish blue flags were a bit more of a suggestion in this game compared to similar to others, but this game is actually oppressive. It will say no, we will give you a penalty to do so. And I don't know about you, I find blue flags always a bit of a tricky one in F1 racing.
Yeah, I think when you're a slower car, it's just about being aware that it's knowing, because obviously you don't want to be holding people up because it's going to affect their race, but then it's knowing where to slow down. Because if you slow down in the middle of a straight, it's going to affect your time, but then you've got to get out of the way, otherwise you're going to get a penalty. So it's very difficult, and sometimes if you're not running the full track map, you're not going to be able to see those things.
Very unfortunate. Well, Buckets Gaming not having the race that they wanted, 33 seconds away from any other car in 12th position. Very unfortunate for them, but that is the nature of racing. Sometimes you get it good, sometimes you really don't, and we're going to be seeing whether or not Newt's going to be having a bit of difficulty for this final position on the podium, as Geek is keeping it relatively close with that 3 tenths of a second, but will need that extra thing. 3 tenths of a second is usually a small mistake out of the car in front, so he's probably waiting a little bit just to see if any of that happens.
As we watch now, Assassin still all over the back of Tom Roberts, but just not able to make the move. Maybe it might be better for him to use his medium tyres, maybe get him into Village with a late braking move, or maybe getting him into Cops, because down the straights he just does not have enough straight line speed to make the move there.
Yeah, and I think it really like the DRS not having a good time going into that. It's funny you said let's go into Village and see if we can do anything. Tried to and made a bit of a mess of it. I think really at the moment the problem that you have is a lot of these cars are getting driven about 3 tenths of a second, but not able to make that overtake and get themselves ahead. I think it's really down to just the nature of how powerful DRS is on this circuit and how, the fact that ERS is not too easy to build up. That combination is causing this problem of DRS trains. And so we're waiting for whether or not drivers can keep it on the track, whether or not they make any mistakes, and whether or not the driver behind can capitalize. And I think that's really what we're seeing here, whether it's the fight for first, whether it's the fight for third, even a fight for fifth, we're seeing here with Tom Roberts, and actually here with Geek trying to fight off Newt.
Yeah, when it comes to the battery, they're all going to be doing the same thing. So they'll be saving battery in the same places, using battery in the same places. So the only difference is then going to be the DRS and the wing level. But if you're running the same wing level as your rival and then dumping the battery, you're not going to be gaining that much time. As we Tom Roberts into the pit lane off the hard tyres. Maybe the tyre wear got a bit too high, didn't want to risk a puncture.
I think got to that point where Tom Roberts was hoping for a safety car, but I think Silverstone being probably one of the widest circuits on the entire calendar, it's very unlikely for a safety car to happen. And there was one moment that we saw between Assassin and AO that could have resulted in it if there was a DNF occurring, whether or not, as you said, that whether or not one of those front tires started flying off. But it didn't do so. We've not seen a safety car. It's kind of uncharacteristic of the BUSR. I think we have a slightly smaller grid today of 13 cars, so we have seen less of that chaos. But I think at the moment we're seeing that it's been a relatively stable race, and unfortunately, it's meant that Tom Roberts has not capitalized at all off of any opportunity really in this race when it comes to the fact that they didn't qualify well. They made the mistakes in qualifying, and now getting absolutely punished for it.
Just want to take your eyes to the battle for the podium. Geek has just picked up a 3-second time penalty, which is absolutely huge. Because not only is he behind last gen U, but if he did make it in front, he now has to try and gap him by 3 seconds. And we've seen how powerful the DRS is. So maybe that is Geek's podium contentions just gone out the window.
Yeah, and with a hard tire as well, will not have the same amount of grip as Newt at this point in the race. We're going to be seeing side by side uh, between Tom Hug and Edie in that kick Salba. And right now, looks like Achi has a really good chance there, going on the outside of Vale, going into the final corner, and fantastic overtake coming out from the Aston Martin driver.
Yeah, Edie just went quite deep into Vale and it just opened the door from Tom Hug, and Tom Hug didn't need a second invitation. Just waltzed straight through and got the move done. But he is now going to be under pressure because Edie is going to have the DRS as they now head onto the Wellington Straight.
Yeah, look for that green positional marker on the bottom right of the map, as DRS is going to be available for them going down the straight. It's going to give that extra bit of horsepower equivalent going down there into Brooklands, but does not get any of it. So securing the 7th position, but does have that 3-second penalty. So again, these penalties are becoming more and more influential, especially for that podium position you said earlier. Newt currently, just about ahead, but that 3-second penalty with, marginally better tires for now is going to make a difference going to these last 4 laps of the race.
Yeah, Josh are now applying massive amounts of pressure to the back of Tom. Tom has saved up a bit more battery than Josh has, so hopefully Ben's going to be trying to now use that to pull away.
And I think also, like, actually seeing a soft tires being used to get the fastest lap of the race, it's not going to be helping Ben in any sort of way, as both those drivers have been keeping each other in check, as it looks like going to be some blue flags there going into Vale. Don't want to make anything crazy of it. And actually, Josh losing a bit of time. I think actually at the moment that fight at the moment is just being down to whether or not you can keep in the DRS and whether or not you can do anything of it. And Geek, of course, getting that 3-second penalty has dropped them out, as looks like a good run going down into the Wellington straight into Brooklands, but does not have enough speed to do so. Again, I think this scenario at the moment of drivers getting within about 3/10 of a second at the end of a DRS straight, not having that additional overspeed to really make a move, is affecting all of the drivers here. And we've not seen any sort of things at play, whether it's a VSC or a safety car, any of those additional factors that we can see in the F1 game just not playing out. It looks like, again, we're just seeing some blue flags there for the Lizard, who is very much down in 10th position, and drivers looking around to make those overtakes around the blue flags without having any problems.
Yeah, these blue flags are really hurting Josh Woolley because we saw into Wellington and down Hanger, Ben both having DRS, and obviously there's no one in front of him on the timing ladder, but on track there are back markers giving him DRS and just really hurting Josh's ability to close up. As you see now, he's actually dropped out of the DRS. Another person this is actually hurting is Ali, because Ali's on the soft tyres, and as you can see, he did set the fastest lap. So he has a lot more pace in the front too, but because he's under blue flags, he actually can't overtake Josh. So he's just sort of now stuck there in the DRS of Josh.
Yeah,
As
there's
we
not
now
many
look...
laps. Sorry, there's not many laps
Oh, no,
remaining of
fine.
this race to do anything.
Unfortunately not. We have a look at the battery situation as well. Josh's battery is a little bit lower than Ben's, so Ben's going to be able to use that to pull away even more. So I think the win might be out of the win might not be possible for Josh Woolley.
And I think also, I mean, we're kind of making mention here of the battery usage. It's just one of the factors with these cars being a hybrid engine. I think I'd love it if the next set of regulations we could actually see those percentages like we do in Formula E, because it really tells you whether or not you can push or cannot. And the only real thing we have to really see that is the harvesting lights on the back of the car. Using that rain light as also the notion that the car is decelerating to charge the battery. I'd love to see that. I don't know about you. I'd love to see that in the next
Oh
set
yeah,
of regulations.
definitely. I'd love to. Speaking just in context of the game, going into this game, they've made massive changes to the battery, so you get more battery modes you can change during the race, and the battery fluctuates a lot more, so it plays a massive role on how you go about your racing.
Yeah, and Ali getting a massive 10-second penalty for annoying blue flags. So just as we were saying earlier, this game does actually punish for blue flags quite heavily, and actually puts them down into a net 11th position. We are actually no, actually you may not. I think 6-second penalty will keep them ahead. Actually, we did actually see that AO actually did make the overtake to Lizard when it was pulling over for blue flags. So um, unfortunately, not the race that they wanted, especially with the contact we saw with Assassin earlier in the race. Assassin's just chilling right now in fifth position, so a lot of points that has been lost. Sally's actually ignoring blue flags again. I'm
Yeah,
really wondering
I think he's
what's
just
going
had
on
enough
here.
of he's had enough of sitting behind Josh, so he's gone for the overtake. And as I said before, you cannot make you because he's a lap car, he cannot sit in front of Josh, although he has more pace. And that's where the blue flags are coming from. He's between the two cars, and he has actually opted for censor and let Josh back through. But yes, he just thrown away positions from just being impatient.
I'm wondering. I mean, I'll have to have a look whether or not what's going on here with. You have to have a look on the map here, but whether or not actually Josh is pulling along. No, no. I was thinking that for a second, whether or not anyone was pulling along someone, ignoring the blue flags to do so, but I don't think that's actually been done here. Um, yeah, it has got to that point, and then we have got onto the final lap of the race now. So it is at that point now of stability where we are thinking, right? Okay, who are we going to be talking to? What they're going to be thinking about? What's the questions that we're going to be on? I'm wondering, is there any questions that you had coming into our people who are going to be potentially on the podium?
Well, it's been quite an uneventful race actually. It started off quite well with a lot of DRS trains, a lot of action, but after that it sort of fell off a bit. I would like to talk, maybe ask last Gen Newt about what happened on those opening laps because we saw him drop a few positions, and maybe ask Josh how much the lap cars really affected him and his chances of catching up to Ben and fighting for the win.
I think my question really is why Josh could make the overtake all race. Like, you've spent 26 laps behind this person and you've not been able to make one overtake. Like, come on. We go motor racing, right? We don't go going down the M1. As we're going to be going across the line here, actually seeing a little bit of coaxing between Newt and Geek. It looks like Geek has actually made the overtake at the end, and AL just getting another set of penalties at the end of the race here. Going across the line, Geek has actually made the overtake on track to get that third position, but will drop back down as Newt will be getting that third position. So Ben has won with Josh in second, Newt in third. We've seen a couple of cars, some of the lapped cars come across the line. Assassin finishing the end in fifth position after a somewhat eventful race for them, as Hugs making a number of positional gains to go in sixth position. Edie keeping relatively quiet in seventh. Tom Roberts, unfortunately, coming from last place to eighth, but having numerous problems with the way the race has gone, especially from qualifying, finishing in eighth, and Buckets. Buckets went driving today, finishing across the line as our last person finishing out.
I think this might be quite a crucial win here for Ben because it might be enough points for him to move up into the lead of the championship. Because you can see Tom Roberts down in only ninth. So could this be? I think Ben could potentially be our new championship leader.
Yeah, we'll have to let the gremlins in the back line, well, the back of the rooms, just try and figure out who is going to be leading the championship. We'll let them do it. We'll let them do it in the meantime, as we're seeing a very, very mildly cringe uh, ceremony for our winner for Ben Mills here. I do find these cutscenes mild, a bit uncanny. Anyhow, actually, they still had the podium at the wing still there. So I will say everything is still up at Silverstone. They haven't changed it yet. So if you're a Lando fan, you can still celebrate. There's still stuff there. And I have not seen any of the results for tonight, but I think it's probably good for Lando. I think I've been hearing things. We'll find out. Hopefully not spoilers for out there, but for the people out there listening at home. So Ben is your winner. Josh in third, and Newt getting across the line at the end. Not on getting past on track, but getting the third position at the end of the day.
I'm actually really intrigued. I'm doing the calculation. I want to know who's leading the championship because I think it could be Ben.
That would definitely be a an upset, if anything, to be said, because Tom has had a marginal lead throughout this championship, really showing pace um, across the number of rounds. But this is definitely going to be a difficult one to swallow. I think, yeah, it looks like we are getting some confirmation right now. It actually, is Ben going to be leading the championship? So that actually is a very, very important thing, and so we're going to be getting to our final rounds of the season. It's going to be very, very important as that gap. It was definitely a marginal gap of a couple points that has now narrowed, and might be a 2 or 3 way fight for the lead.
It is actually very close at the front. Ben now leads with 125 points. Tom Roberts down on 117, and then last year New on 116.
Oh, wow. That really
Yeah.
has welled up. And just for perspective, so Josh had a problem in the round two of the championship. I remember he said, "Oh, championship's over, guys. Championship's over. I've made these mistakes. Not going to happen." It's closed up very quickly.
Yes, Josh Woolley on 90 points, so he's only 16 off P3, so he keeps him putting in the races that he is. Definitely still in the championship fight.
Yeah, and we're going to be seeing whether or not we're going to get any interviews, as it looks like they're going to be going into their debriefs. And in the meantime, do you know what? And it looks like it just and we're back. Don't worry about it. And I think overall, I think we are going to be. I think overall, I'm going to be honest. That race was. There wasn't much that went on. I think it really showed that ERS was a very, very difficult thing to build up, and the DRS just wasn't quite there. So if you had the track position, you had the ability to keep those drivers behind. So, well, sorry, if you had the track position, you are going to keep those drivers behind because the DRS just isn't that much powerful, and isn't much ERS. You have to rely really on a mistake coming out the car in front. If that driver is good, and Ben was in this case, kept Josh off for the entire race, all 26 laps of it.
Unfortunately, it's one of those races where you saw a lot of tire management, a lot of ERS management, so there wasn't a lot of opportunity to do something different and try and make a move. Maybe if we did what they do in Formula One, try and maybe force a two stop, then you'll see differing strategies, more moves being made, and an exciting race. But as it stands, excellent race executed from Ben from pole position. Then Josh just didn't have an answer for it. Last year, Newt lost a few positions off the race start, but managed to make his way back up to P3. So good races from our top three.
Yeah, and I think really, if you look at it, some of the unfortunate things was going to be people like, I mean, AL, for example, having absolute atrocious end with Assassin hitting the side of it. I mean, that's going to be definitely a. I will not be surprised if there will be a protest. Sorry, a report for that incident. It is definitely one of those that affected AL's race quite significantly, and um, in the end, Newt did get the overtake on Assassin. It was going to happen eventually. It just by looking at the way it went. I mean, it again, we had that thing, that problem with DRS and ERS, and not being able to make the overtake. But really, AL was in there. He had the pace, and unfortunately, finished very, very below what we were thinking.
I think it's just unfortunate, really. As you said, he was having a great race. It's just the contact model being as dodgy as it is. They're both obviously getting on power, small tap, and it's just sent him off.
Could be worse. Could be iRacing. Right, let's get our first interview lined up for us. So let our producer fire it away. And it looks like we have Owen in the chat. So welcome to the casting couch. How have you been during your race?
Exhausted. I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure why I'm here.
You
Well, you're
did
here
finish on
now.
the podium.
I originally thought it was top three, but I'll take it. The other three are there as well. No, I'm fine. Just very, very hot, sweaty, and exhausted. And intrigued on how to drive fast in this game.
Yeah, I think really in the end, like just looking at the way it was going, I think one of the things that we were observing up and down the field was the how not powerful the DRS was. I don't know about how it felt from your end, but the ERS, the lack of it, the DRS, and the power it had. How hard was it to really make those overtakes?
Very. I'll be honest, the only like real proper overtake I'll say has been with Newt. Lap one, I think it was just a bit of a tire difference and a bit of a grip difference, and was just able to make the most of it and then keep track position. As the one that was on the final lap, it was just a case of DRS battery and just using the slipstream really. But I'm not really the best person to speak to in terms of this because this is really the only second league race I've done on this. I still have absolutely no clue what I'm doing, but from what it seems, lower wing is the way to go. And if you want to really get past someone, I wouldn't say a game of DRS chicken, but it's a case of you need to get the DRS, you need to have battery, you need to get in the slipstream and then just really power it on through, or else it's incredibly difficult to overtake.
Yeah, Geeks wanted to ask, you started on the medium tire, so you're out of sync of the people around you. How would you say that affected your race?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, I've done no practice. I had no idea what each compound felt. I honestly kind of just saw what the in-game strategy suggested and just stuck with it. I would admit, both tire compounds felt good at first, as you expect them to do, but the mediums felt like they fell off a cliff much, much quicker than the hards did. So I even said in the voice chat during the race that I just felt the hards were just a better race tire overall. I just felt much more consistent. And with the lighter fuel load, I'm happy that I chose them to be the last race tire I had. Mediums were right, but yeah, come like lap 7-ish, they were already very, very slidey. And I mean, probably getting caught out with dirty air in the opening laps didn't really help any favors either. Plus, my driving style is weird, I would say. Apparently, the best way to go fast on this game is to slide the tires around. I think I was trying to do that, but just doing that way too much. And I noticed under braking, sometimes I would just lose traction, or going through cops. Sometimes if you hit the curb wrong, you would just really kick the rear out. And, I mean, all in all, it was fun. It was just a case of I don't really know what I'm doing. Really, I was just aiming for top 5 and hoping it stuck. But no, I mean, P4 in the end with the penalty applied, which was completely fair. I did some mistakes of my own accord. But it was fun. Looking forward to more races on F1 25.
Awesome. Well, don't worry, I don't play this game either, so I don't know what I'm doing. So don't worry
That's all
about
good. I'm still better in my GT3s or touring cars.
it. We'll give you a we'll give you a Porsche at some point. It's fine.
Yay!
Right.
Just hopefully one that doesn't murder me. Right,
Absolutely right.
cheers for that, guys.
No worries.
Awesome
Have
stuff.
a good evening. Well, that's showing that the F1 game is interesting in its mechanics. Let's get the next one lined up, shall we? Right, and we have a wild newt. So, third place. How does it feel?
Uh, Very good, because this is probably my worst track on the calendar, so P3 is probably the best I could have hoped for today.
Right. I think the main thing to really talk about, and I think I talked about this with Owen. How did it feel overtaking cars? Because it looked rough out there.
Yeah, Dirty Air was awful, and following through any of the high-speed corners was impossible, so to actually overtake people the few times that I managed it, it felt really good because I had to work really hard for it, but I don't think it happened very often. I think I only did like 2 overtakes or something, but
Yeah, we saw you in the race sat behind AL and Assassin. Was that you just struggling to make the move or just trying to save your tyres? Because we know the tyre wear here is quite high.
Well, I was hoping my teammate would make a move on Assassin, and he went for it a few times, but then I don't know what happened between them. I think they just murdered each other, so I don't know who gets a penalty for that, but it got me a position, and then I decided to undercut Assassin because I just couldn't get past him. The dirty air was way too bad at that point.
Right, and I think overall, I mean, I would say, like, considering where you were, I mean, and what happened with cars around you, how'd you feel getting that third position?
Yeah, I think I was down in P6 at one point, and I basically lost all hope after lap 1 because it's identical to what happened the last time we were at Silverstone. I had a terrible lap 1, ended up in like 12th or something, and then wasn't able to make back any of the positions. But today, the pace was a lot better, and I was able to actually make the positions back up. I wasn't expecting P3 though, even at the end.
Well, it's all the more points to bag, and third place is definitely not the worst place in the world to get. So, well done for third place, and hope it'll be fun next week.
Thank you. It was a very good race.
So, right, let's get on. So we have our uh, absolutely. Let's see. We're going to be getting our second place person coming in here. As thank you very much, Newt, for your time and insights. Right.
Hello, hello.
Hello there. So, second place, I'm going to be honest with you. Looking at the way that race went, that looked very boring.
Yeah. It was kind of a tale of what could be. I thought I probably could have been better. I think if I'd have been on pole, I would have been much better. But dirty air is a beautiful, beautiful thing if you don't want someone to overtake you.
We've been hearing.
It just whenever, especially because I was running really low wing, whenever I got to within like 4/10, 5/10 of Ben, Chapel existed, and I just slid off the track because I had no grip. And then he made a mistake, caught back up, went through the pit cycle. Somehow he gained a second on me in the pits. No idea how that happened. And then back markers at the end of the race gave him DRS and got in my way, and I was like, so it is what it is. I'll take P2. It's what I was expecting. I just expected Tom to win and not Ben.
Yeah, Josh, after Jeddah, you said that it might be championship over, but you're only 26 points off third position. So do you think heading into the second half, you can make up enough points and maybe take the championship?
Overall championship, no. I'm missing Spa in a couple of weeks. But second place in the championship, I think, is still very much up for grabs. If I continue to score well in the races that I actually finish, it's 2 second places and a first in the Jeddah sprint. If I continue that sort of form, then I should be able to close up the gap to the guys in front. Just need to keep it clean and get, finish the races is my aim.
Well, at least you finished this one. Second place overall, and we'll see how it goes into next week.
Cheers, guys.
Right, and finally, our winner for Silverstone. Let's bring the person in. Hello there, Ben. Congratulations. And I want to ask, I mean, you were leading for a lot of the race. How do you feel leading that race compared to all the competition you're having to fight off?
Yeah, I mean, I had higher downforce than the likes of Josh, who was on crazy low wing. So I knew that if I could keep ahead on the straights, then I should be able to keep him ahead by the end of the race. But yeah, it was just a case of trying to keep him out of my DRS. But then even when he was within, the difference in downforce and the dirty air just meant that I could keep him behind.
Hi, Ben. You're leading the championship by 8
Am I?
points over Tom. You
Oh,
are
wow.
8 points over Tom Roberts after having another quite disappointing race, unfortunately. Do you think that potentially, if you keep this form up, you could win the championship?
Well, I hope it's not short-lived, but knowing Tom's pace, and if he starts qualifying, then I might be a little bit screwed. So yeah, I'll just try and keep getting consistent results and staying on the podium, and we'll see what happens.
I also wanted to
I
ask,
think
towards the end of the race, you got quite lucky with the back markers, I'd like to say. Do you think that potentially if the back markers hadn't intervened, that maybe Josh would have had the pace to catch up, or do you think that he was just losing too much because of the dirty air?
Yeah, I mean, I had saved a lot of battery, so even if he was within my DRS at the end, I think I had the measure of him. But yeah, I was saving quite carefully. I was being quite cautious with how much I was using, so I felt like I probably could have kept him behind.
well, no worries. I mean, a win overall. We'll see how that pace goes into next round. Thank you very much, and congratulations for your win at Silverstone.
Thank you.
And with that, that's going to be the end of our stream. I hope you have all had it. I hope you've had a good time, Oren.
I have had a great time. First time on comms, and it was quite an exciting race, actually.
Yeah, and overall, not too bad. And of course, if you guys are still interested in getting yourself involved, do so with the socials below. BUSR, if you're interested in our various leagues, whether it's F1, Assetto Corsa at the moment, or iRacing. We do a couple as well. And of course, also look at our various partners with Gridfinder, Stimsoft, and Traction GG. Thank you very much, of course, to our production. Thank you very much, Cameron Backroom, for helping us out. And also, Oren, thank you for coming along on this initial first-time ride for you. And it's been lovely to have you. And thank you very much to everyone at home. Hope you have a good time, and hopefully you have a great